everybody, it is Castilla Arcady here, and in this video I will be showing you all how to get rich in Horse Life Roblox. So the very first thing that I would like to cover is the fact that, like most other games, grinding is the best way to earn the most amount of money. However, there are ways to make grinding a lot more beneficial. And that's exactly what I'm going to be showing you all today. The first rule is to focus on taming horses. And while all of the creatures in this game are considered horses, I mean actual horses. For example, there's one trapped in this pond over here. This would be a good horse to tame. And the reason you want to tame horses specifically is because you're going to be able to maximize your profits. Horses are pretty plentiful, which is definitely different in comparison to certain species such as the floras, which I am currently riding. This makes taming them a lot easier because they're everywhere and you don't have to sit there and search for new ones. Most of the time, a horse is going to be worth about 124 coins. 120 coins probably doesn't seem like a lot, but it is when you factor in the costs of actually taming your horse. Which leads me to the next rule. When you go to the store, you are able to purchase a lot of different lassos. The cheapest lasso definitely being the torn lasso, which is what I'm using. It's only 45 coins. This is important to note because when you catch a horse, your profit is going to be the sale price of that horse minus the 45 coins or however much your lasso was. I wouldn't recommend going above a string lasso or a woven lasso because you're just not going to make enough money. Torn lassos are great if you're patient. Unfortunately, they do have a longer cooldown and their heart gain is only 1. However, you will end up with the greatest profit. The reason why you don't want to catch other species is because the lassos required cost a lot more. For example, a unicorn lasso at the cheapest, a weak magical lasso, is 400. You can see here that this fairly regular unicorn with a mutation that adds 75 coins is only worth 239. With other species, you're going to be losing money. And while it might seem to make sense to go after species like the equus that are very similar to horses, it really doesn't, because if you notice, you're gonna spend a lot more time catching these horses because of how many hearts, and that's gonna waste a lot of time in comparison to the 5 heart maximum on a regular horse. And that just isn't worth the 4 coin species bonus. And that leads me to the next rule of taming. Technically, it's impossible to tell whether or not a horse has mutations like springy tendon. There's nothing visually that could allude to that. However, there are specific mutations that are physical. Chimera manes and tails are considered mutations and they do give you a 75 coin bonus. This horse is extremely difficult to tell, but the mane and tail are a different color. If you have to choose between 2 horses that are in front of you, I would always go for the one that looks like it has a multicolored mane and tail, if available. This horse, for example, has a very obvious chimera mane or tail. It's hard to tell exactly which would have the mutation, all things considered, but this horse does have that mutation. It's the chimera mane. Furthermore, when you are looking for horses, I would highly suggest looking for the horses that seem to have the most markings. And while it's uncommon, some horses won't have very many markings. Sometimes they'll only have 1 or 2. Most of the time, though, they have at least 3 traits. For example, this horse has fluffy ears, streaking spots, and is an Orvero. The more colorful the horse, the more likely that horse is to have more traits. You can also get more than 3. I've had, I believe, up to 5 traits, maybe 4, and every trait is equivalent to an extra 8 coins, which, while it might not seem like a lot, is worth it in the long run. That leads us to our next rule. If you are a new player, it may seem really tempting to keep every single horse that has any mutation. However, you're going to figure out really quick that you will run out of space very rapidly, and it's just not a great option. As such, I create a rule so that I know exactly which horses to keep and which horses to not keep. My rule is that all horses must have a minimum of 3 mutations, not including anything visible. What I want are things that will alter their performance. If I show you some of my horses, you'll be able to see what I'm talking about. This horse does not have any mutations other than having wings. Meanwhile, this pony has limber tendons, springy tendons, and powerful lungs. This is what I'm looking for when I'm keeping horses. Moral of the story, be frugal with your horses because you will catch a lot and you will not have the space for all of them. My last suggestion is that when you're out taming, pay attention to your surroundings. Not only to catch on to potentially rarer horses, but also for other ways to make money. Take the paths with the coins. Each coin gives you 15, which is quite a bit. Keep your eyes peeled for chests, because guess what? Usually these give me between 50 and 100 each time, not to mention all the lassos, which saves a lot of money because when you're not buying lassos, they're free. Which means that when you catch a horse with a lasso, it's pure profit. That is the secret to becoming rich in Horse Life Roblox. Or several secrets, I should say. You will get the best results when used in conjunction. A singular method is not necessarily the best. But whatever you do, just make sure to have fun. Alright, everybody, thank you. I hope this was helpful, and I will see you later. Bye!